guys, it's Daniel here, and I'm back. And I don't know why I have to keep saying that I'm back, only to fade away into the distance once more, but I'm back anyway. Yeah, I know, I keep saying I'd be back, but I always get 1 or 2 reviews and I'm gone for another month. But, as you know, I have been moving house, and I've spent a few nights in this house already. Yeah, I'm in a new house. And soon enough, you're going to be seeing the new Filming Daniel Studios, I guess 2.0, because the other room that I spent time making videos in got made over the years, but it's still the same room. So this is the official Filming Daniel Studios 2.0. But I am not going to reveal it yet. I might wait until a few videos later, or maybe wait until the 7th anniversary, where I'll finally reveal it. However, now that I'm back reviewing something on my audio-related review, I thought I would go ahead and go back in time to 2009 to review something that, in my opinion, is very relevant and connecting to me at this time and to a lot of people in this day and age. Because today, I'm going to be reviewing a stop-motion comedy drama film that contains both slice of life and coming of age, that deals with the outcomes, both positive and negative, of people with autism, or people with fragile and nervous sides because of parenting that they gain from their parents. And that film that I'll be reviewing today is called Mary and Max. So the premise of Mary and Max takes place between 2 sides of the world, from Australia to New York, and it follows the letter-communicated pen-pal friendship between a little girl from Australia by the name of Mary and a 40-something-year-old autistic man from New York named Max. And it follows them as they both learn from each other their struggles, their succeed in life, but also how they can help each other through the technique of writing letters. So when I heard about this movie, it was when YouTuber Jamboree reviewed it on his channel, and originally, before the anime movie A Silent Voice, it was his favourite film. And then when I heard about the movie and the many morals and messages that it talked about, and how it relates to real life, I was like, oh, this is definitely one of those animated movies that takes risks. And I like animated movies that take risks, or any movie that takes risks in general. Plus, even when people might not talk about it a lot, when they do talk about it, it's very well known. I mean, I know Rotten Tomatoes is not a reliable source, but it got very high ratings, 96%, and I was like, wow, this movie was definitely out the wazoo back in 2009, and maybe even today. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna go check it out. And I have to say, I've watched this movie twice now, and I feel like the care, support, and love that went into this piece of cinema. I mean, this movie was so good. It was so good. I loved it, man. And honestly, I cannot wait to talk about it and give my reasons, without giving too much away, as to why a lot of people should really check it out and how it can relate to some people. So let's start off with one of the main factors of this movie, the animation. This movie was made using stop-motion animation, and although the animation looks like it's something that was made for YouTube videos or low-budget animated films, I think that this really works in its favour, because it helps that you can tell that it's been made by a team really wanted to tell the story through a realistic point of view and a more genuine point of view. So they don't need to have big budget stop motion, something like Leica or Aardman. Sometimes just little frames and little clay models is enough. And the backgrounds were very well done and helped to capture the atmosphere that both Mary and Max are living in. Plus the design of them really helps to make them unique and help them stand out. but I think it also adds to their personalities and helps us to really, care for them. Max would sometimes look down, but you could tell that he's still smiling on the inside and still has more emotions, but it also makes us sympathize with him, while Mary, throughout the film, especially her as a child, looks so cute. I mean, whenever we watch Mary, having a little walk cycle, her legs would be, going in circles, and you just see her trumbling along, it's just, like a little water. I'm getting a bit too cheesy, aren't I? But she's just, it's so cute. And what I really loved about the atmosphere of both sides of the characters is how the colour palette has that kind of way as well. Because Australia has this kind of orangey, peachy kind of look that really helps to capture the childlike imagination that Mary has, but would also sometimes cut to dark areas whenever she's in a dark spot. While Max living in New York City, because New York City might not be the best place to live in, but Max still lives it anyway, but you can tell that the atmosphere around him can really, affect him, but also give him ideas of how to help the public. And I love, the attention to detail whenever there be a few, dream sequences or a few, moments of imagination where we see both of these worlds combine. It is very, well done and very well put together. Plus, I do like whenever they would show, Mary's imagination, or when Max would sometimes have an imagination, well, at least some of the occasions, where we see drawings and things that they think of in their mind, and it would go into 2D, and it would be these drawings being brought to life. I really like that. I really like that they formatted other kinds of animation into what mostly is a stop-motion movie. Plus, the music is also very, admirable and very endearing to listen to, especially the music whenever Mary's story is on screen. I mean, granted, sometimes they would use it a bit too much, but honestly, I didn't mind that much because it was such a relaxing and well-delighted song. Whenever Mary is, having her little walk, which, again, is very admirable whenever she's, talking to people or being shocked by well-known things, or as one of the major things that happens with a character, she eats her sweetened condensed milk. I gotta say, the sweetened condensed milk sounded very interesting, and Mary enjoys eating it so much that I actually had to walk to the shop one time and buy my own can of condensed milk right away. Hey, everybody, a lot of the food and condensed milk and chocolate is being pushed into my mind, and I had to give it a try. Well, I mean, I love chocolate, but I hadn't tried sweetened condensed milk before, and I think it's very tasty. Now, this film is what is supposed to be called a tragic comedy. Tragic comedy? I'll put the name of it here. It's where you have both drama and comedy combined into here. So despite the fact that this movie has a relatable sympathy towards characters, it is still part comedy. And I have to say, many of the jokes got me laughing quite a few times, mainly coming from the innocence and dialogue between the characters, because Max would sometimes talk about the life in Australia, and there would also be a few rude things to give to the comedy, which is wow, I can't believe that made it into this movie, which I'll discuss later, but that's very, very good, and I like that the comedy in this movie is not just in a grey area. It goes broader than that to make it very relatable and very comedic for people older than kids. Actually, come think of it, I wouldn't recommend this movie to children. Absolutely not. This would be teenagers and older. This isn't a children's film, okay? It might be animated, but it's not a children's film. It's for, a broader audience, older than that. And I like that the director, I think it was Elliot is his name, really took a chance and took a leap and gave us a movie that is so realistic, even though it's being presented with clay models. And speaking of those relatabilities, let's talk about the characters, particularly our two title characters, Mary Daisy Dinkle and Max Horowitz. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Both of them have their own problems and troubles they deal with, but they have very different personalities in some occasions, but they have moments where they relate to each other and connect to each other through the letters that they sent. So let's start things off with Mary. Mary we get to see grow up throughout the film, from an 8-year-old kid to I believe a 25-year-old woman. Both of the time periods we see Mary in is so captivating to watch because I would say she's the most tragic character in the entire film, and it really helps me to oh my god, some of this stuff I'm shocked they got away with. She can feel a bit sensitive and scared many moments throughout the film, mainly due to the cruelness of Australia that she lives in, and the neglect and poor parenting that she gained from her parents. So she's having to look at the world through her own eyes and try to make it through while living under the roof of her mother, who is not that great of a mother because she doesn't take proper care of Mary, and even says some things that, in my opinion, a parent should never say to their kids. Whenever we would see her get emotional when she's writing to Max as a little kid, I'm just like, man, this is one tragic little kid. And then as an adult, she finally is able to see the world with an adult eye, and she still feels all the past that goes on through her childhood and incorporating that into the adulthood. That makes her feel like she needs to change things up a bit, but by changing things up, she's just looking at the world through an even worse way. And there's a scene towards the end of the film, I'm not going to spoil it, but as if the movie couldn't get even deeper, they had to throw that scene on with us, and I'm just like, man, I gotta tell you, to those people who say, oh, animation's just for kids, I'm talking to you, 2022 Oscars, remember you're watching a movie where stuff like this can happen, and you can see it in real life, but somebody took the extra chance and gave it an animated touch, and the stylistic way that they present this moment, in my opinion, really helps to surround us with the headspace that Mary has. But whatever, it's just to babysit your kids. Yeah, I don't know why some people would say that, because animation is much more broader than that. And I have to say, both of the actresses who voice Mary, because she grows up from a little girl to an adult, both capture her innocence well. We have Bethany Whitmore as the voice of young Mary, and we have well-known Australian actress Toni Collette, who I heard is famous for such films like Little Miss Sunshine and Hereditary, as the voice of adult Mary. Bethany, in my opinion, stood out the most because her voice performances as a cute little girl is so, it feels like chocolate melting into my mouth, but also when she gets upset, she really handles, the crackiness and upsetness of Mary. While Toni Collette, while her speaking roles are very, soothing to listen to when she's writing letters to Max, it's mainly her vocal noises that she makes, or grunts, or laughingness or unhappiness, when she gets angry, when she makes it really melted me inside. But in my opinion, the one character that I personally relate the most with in this film, and the character that really made me want to watch the movie and want to talk about it on my channel, is the character of Max, voiced by the late Phillip Seymour Hoffman. Max is a 40-something-year-old that's on the autistic spectrum, which, in my opinion, I found it to be the most relatable I've had with an animated character in a very long time, because Max has Asperger's syndrome. And in my opinion, the reason I relate to that is because I'm not sure if I talked about it before on my channel, but I have Asperger's. Yeah, I have Asperger's as well, and I can sometimes have a little overthinkingness, or maybe some shaky or anxious thoughts to certain things, and I've been going through that recently, so I for one found myself really connecting and sympathizing with the character of Max, because Max can have his own moments where he can think to himself, or when he's approaching the world in a very different way. But anybody can relate to that because anybody can have a few social issues now and again. But Max also approaches the world in his own way and tries to kind of change it in a way, because he picks up cigarettes from the ground, or sees New York as kind of like a downer place, but he wants to make good improvements. Like when he says that maybe I should add some new words to the dictionary, or maybe I should like add some rules that maybe we should be watchful for the cleanliness of New York, where it should be. And I like that. It makes him much more like connected to more of the outside world than we thought he'd be, when it felt like maybe he's just keeping to himself. But he does keep to himself most of the time. And he also has the strange love of food, especially with his favourite chocolate hot dogs, which I gotta say do look pretty good. But he also has his own connections outside of the letters that he writes to Mary, like his neighbour Ivy, who really felt like a mother figure to him. Like, I definitely felt like he saw her as family, and one of the major people, and probably one of the only people that he can connect with physically in New York. Plus, many times when he gets, like, over-anxious over something small, he does have that well-known, like, moment where he does have an anxious breakdown by putting his hands onto his head and just breathing heavily in and out. Like, and in my opinion, I really, really relate to that, because I can sometimes have those kind of, like, breakdowns where I have to shake now and again, and really connected with Max in that kind of way. He's also, and I think he's very friendly, he's very polite, and he does like so much advice to give to Mary and picks the right words to use. I like that when he types it into his typewriter, it has that kind of musical thing where you see him typing it in the beginning, which in my opinion is a really well done touch. And I think he does think now and again, he has to think to himself the right advice to give to Mary, and really type it in very carefully, and I really, really like that. However, he does have his own moments where he can make a few mistakes, and we can tell that many times throughout the film, he does have an anxious but also deep temper underneath all of that, like, nervous persona. And another thing that a lot of people in the autistic spectrum can relate to. And again, I really wanted him to find ways to connect with the world and find ways to handle his anxiety, but totally respect whenever he does have some anxiousness over something small. And, I can connect with that on many, many levels. And I think Phillip Seymour Hoffman, I'm going to admit, I don't really think I've seen a lot of films with him. Maybe not many at all. I really don't know. I know he's one of the most well-known actors, but I have listened to how he speaks in real life, and I have to say, he sounds so unrecognizable in the role of Max, with his New York accent and his very stuttery but also quiet tones. It's I like when most of the time we just hear him speaking from the mind, not really out loud, and I like that because it helps us to soothe into the letters that he's writing to Mary. But again, it's mainly the idea of Max being on the autistic spectrum because he has Asperger's syndrome, and I especially love the one moment where he does actually explain to Mary what the Asperger's syndrome is, and how he explains it about how it affects him. That's a really well-known scene, and I definitely think it's one of the best scenes in terms of autism I've ever seen in cinema. And plus the bond that is shared between Mary and Max throughout the film, we can tell that despite being limited to only writing letters, their words to each other really connect with them and help them to understand them more, and even though they're far apart in the world, they already automatically become friends, and Max considers Mary a friend, and Mary always helps Max whenever he has a problem, but also knows that him as an adult can maybe give her the best advice. And I have to say, towards the end of the film, I really started to feel the emotions of the outcome that their friendship provides to each other. The last 20 minutes were absolutely wonderful. They were so good. They made me melt, they made me sad, they made me shaking and being on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen to these characters and what would their friendship bring and how it would conclude, and it's very heartbreaking. And again, another reason why I think that more animated films should be looked on as a broader thing, because, when you watch this movie, you'll be shocked at the stuff that they get away with. Beautiful, and one of my favourite last 20 minutes of any animated film, or possibly any film in general. I think that this movie is fantastic, and I absolutely loved it. Do I think I have any problems? No, I can't say I have any problems. Although maybe some things I may have wished a bit more, like maybe there could have been more screen time with Mary as an adult, but at the same time, I love Mary as a kid so much that I didn't really mind, and also they did a fantastic job giving us a lot of focus on how the parenting from Mary's parents affected her as a child, so I understood why they gave a lot of focus to that. Maybe sometimes I wish there was a bit more talking, physically from Max or some of the other characters, because they would go back and forth because most of the time when the characters are talking, it's either the narrator, which I have to say the narrator is definitely a unique kind of narration that he would give to a movie, because he doesn't spell things out entirely to the audience. Most of the time when he talks, he's giving information and layers to the backgrounds that Mary and Max live in, like how Max has a fish that keeps constantly getting changed, or Mary having a rooster, or some of the family members that Mary knows but doesn't get too much development. And I like that the narrator is more focused on giving backgrounds to what Mary and Max are doing, rather than physically explaining out to the audience what we can see. And I like that. I think that's how narration should work. But again, I don't really have a problem with the characters not physically talking, because not only is the narrator really good at explaining a lot of things, but also the characters of Mary and Max, what their mind tells the audience when they're writing letters to each other. I find it so soothing, so I don't really mind that either. So honestly, despite the fact that, again, much like some other films that I've seen, I can't fully give this a 5 out of 5, even though I'm definitely going to if I watch this movie a few more times. But despite that, I think that this movie is such a well-deserved and well-put-together animated film that gives us some relatable characters, some relatable struggles from where these characters are doing, wonderful animation, great music, hilarious moments, deep drama, and strong morals and messages about the respect of autistic people and the importance of communication. So yes, I definitely understood why a lot of people who actually did see this movie consider this to be such a well put together film. I wouldn't say it's unknown, but it's not as known as some other films, but even though it's a fantastic animated gem that deserves way more praise. So that's why I'm going to give Mary and Max a 4 3/4 star out of 5. It's definitely a near masterpiece, and I have to say, if you guys have any relatabilities to the characters that I've explained in this video and want to see how they deal with it themselves, I would definitely recommend Mary and Max. And I think that this is one of the other films that should be studied in many film courses, if they're able to see it without watching it on a dodgy website. Maybe see it on DVD, maybe. Hopefully. But again, this was fantastic. I loved it, and I cannot wait to watch it again whenever I feel like I need to have a little comfort blanket. It's amazing. But anyway guys, if you've seen Mary and Max, what do you think about it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? And what is your favourite animated drama film? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, I'm definitely going to be doing more videos to come, and I'm just getting used to my new surroundings. But you'll definitely see the new surroundings once everything is properly ready. So anyway, I'm Daniel, reviewing movies, TV shows, and doing videos. Might go for a bit of chocolate or condensed milk. Or maybe just this drink of water that I'm drinking because I talk in so much into the microphone. Delicious water. Till then, peace out, man.